Blades Ramble are proudly supported by our main channel sponsor, My Business Group, a group of brands designed to support owners, leaders and managers in business. If you're looking to grow your business, contact mybusinessgroup.co.uk today for more information or follow the link in the description below. And seeing as this is 3MB, we're proudly sponsored by VMB Auto Centres at Handsworth. They're still offering that amazing deal of 50% off your MOT when you let them know that you're a Rambler. Call them now on 0114 322 4446. Thank you to VMB Auto Centres for their continued support of the Ramble.
Blades fans, subscribe to Blades Ramble. Up the Blades.
What is happening, Blades, and welcome back to the Blades Ramble. I am, of course, Jimmy, and this is 3MB. How are you doing after that shambolic performance yesterday? It's not as bad as we have seen, but it's not much better. There's been loads of talk about it. I have to apologise first and foremost because I were a little bit mardy last night on 90 after 90, a little bit short. But I was fed up, and I don't ever come on and claim to be like, you know, a professional or full of the joys of spring or anything like that, because you just got to be real, haven't you, and got to go with what you honestly feel at the time, because that's what it is. That's my honest opinion on how things were yesterday, and that is how I were feeling. I've had a better day today. Started off, I had I always talk about I'm a Blade because of Andy the Blade. He was born in Sheffield, born and raised, but he's a Blade because his dad was a Blade. So that is Big Col. Big Col, who is 94, still going strong is a bit of a push, but still rocking. We all went for breakfast this morning, me, ATB and Big Col. So that started my day off right. Then I've been for a walk with my family around, like wife and kids around Skelton Lakes, which is one of them, innit? You know, it's nice enough. And now we're back with the boys talking about Sheffield United, a bit of 3MB action. So I want to know how you're feeling tonight. I won't get to all the comments as usual. I'll get to as many as I can. But when we've got Dave and Man Mountain on, I want to hear what they've got to say as well. So let's bring them on. First and foremost, he's live on the internet. It's Paul Man Mountain. Oh, what? Is that a joke? Have you turned your thing off? Oh, my God. Jesus, what is going on here? Right, hang on. He's coming on. It's not like a... What happened there? Maybe I posted Dave's thing.
Don't point the finger at me. I have nothing to do with this.
What are you doing? Why have you done that?
You know I prefer StreamYard to this malarkey.
Yeah, it don't look as good, does it? Just take out work it. Don't mean we should. Anyway, it's good to see that you're alive and well. People have been worried about you. People have been messaging me today. Have you heard from Paul? Is he all right? You know, it's been nice knowing him. I used to really enjoy watching him on screen. It's such a shame what happened to him. How are you, mate? How's things?
Yeah, you know, we're here again, aren't we? And
live on the internet.
Fun. I am live on the internet. Yeah, I know. She says to me that she didn't realise I was on, because I usually have my computer screen out, but I was on my phone, so she's blaming that for coming in, and yeah.
For those of you that don't know what we're talking about, if you just catch up with the last 15 minutes of 90 after 90 from last night, Paul was our last caller on, and he'd waited like 10 minutes before I brought him on because we had other callers before him. But also, Paul, I'm very grateful for this, but he'd done at least 2 hours on the Ramble earlier in the day because he'd done a watch along of the game for us because he couldn't make it. Ronnie's game got moved into it to a later time. You're the manager of the team, so there were no way you could, even if it were an option to miss it, which you wouldn't have done anyway because it's your boy, but there were no way you could have got out of it. You essentially had to do a bit of work, so stuck at home, couldn't go to the game like you wanted to originally. So you did a watch along for us, which, I know is quite taxing on your time and can sort of eat into family time. And even though you'd be watching the game anyway, it's a big commitment. So then he's on phone talking to me on 90 after 90 afterwards. And he's wanted for something in the house. Can't you see I'm live on the internet? Snaps at Mrs. Mountain. Very brave, very brave. Took one for team. Cheered me up no end. And I'll tell you something else. Someone else, and this is a nice little shift into our next colleague coming on. As pal Davey boy. The two things that cheered me up yesterday, I put it in our Platinum chat, was I'm live on the internet, and Dave, who was out for the day and couldn't spell. He was that drunk. He couldn't. Dave, normally very articulate and reasoned in what he puts in the chats and stuff. He couldn't spell. He couldn't string like a sentence together. So welcoming in the white as a sheet, Dave the Nose Leary.
Dave the Nose, he really knows where the wind, I know whispers blow. Smelly brain, he's in the know. Dave the Nose steals the show.
Davey boy, how are you doing, pal?
I was so very, very drunk.
That picture that you sent me and Paul.
couldn't see. It was so funny.
Autocorrect is mashudging my dancers or something.
Kate kept saying to me, give me your phone before you say something stupid. I'm like, oh, fine.
I needed it, lads, because I came off 90 after 90 last night. Well, after speaking to Paul, I was in a much better mood anyway. But yesterday, it knocked all wind out of my sails, I'll be honest. And I think it's done the same to a lot of blades. First thing I'm asking is, did we expect too much? Were we a little bit arrogant? Were we a little bit, presumptuous? Was it disrespectful to Charlton? Was it underestimating the job that Chrissy Wilder's got to do now? There's all sorts of things flying around that it's put us back in our box a little bit, didn't it? And we are now firmly bottom of the division. Chris Wilder is still leading the charge, obviously, but there's loads to do. Paul, you watched the game. I'll come to you. But Dave, did you get to see any of the game at all?
No, mate.
Well, I'll come to you then, Paul. What were your thoughts on the game then, pal?
Just lacked a bit of urgency, didn't we, in the final third? I thought that some of the bits in between were decent, and you could see a way to get into attacking positions. It was just that final bit. We didn't look like there was no quality on the final ball. There was nothing going into the box. I didn't think we attacked the box well enough, and it seems that having the bit between your teeth and a bit of endeavour and a bit of hard work doesn't always get you what you want, especially with players. And we kind of underestimate that. And Wilder said it in the week, didn't he, about there's a lot more to winning football matches than, just turning up and playing a certain formation and giving out certain instructions. You've got to turn up and win races and win headers first and foremost. But when you get the ball, you've got to be brave. The difference between professional footballers and players down the pyramid for me is sometimes you've got technical players that are fantastic at lower level. It's just it's about what's up here, and can you be brave enough with the ball to sort of do things that outwit your opponents, outwit the defenders. And because the build-up was so pedestrian, it meant that Charlton, who you have to give a lot of credit to, were well organised, physical side. We're going to make it difficult for us coming away from home and knowing that we're on a bit of a bounce. And I thought they defended really, really well because we have not created a clear-cut shot. Now, whether that's down to Charlton's defending or a real lack of creativity on our part, probably a bit of both when you look at the stats that we've kicked out so far this season. I was hoping that some of the bigger players were going to show up and put in a performance like we've seen from them last year under Wilder. And yeah, I think it just didn't happen, did it? I don't know whether the players looked a little bit shell shocked. I think Wilder sort of said that in his presser afterwards. They're slightly damaged in terms of the effect that the start to the season might have had on their confidence and their mindset. So yeah, he's got a big job on his hands, and just turning up isn't enough apparently. So we've got to hope that he can get a bit of confidence into those better players. I do think as well, and I did say there's some that I would be changing and looking to change how we go about it a little bit. But again, that's just my opinion, and hopefully we trust Chris to get it to make the right calls for next week.
I think that's there's so many ways you can go with it. It's Chris just hadn't had enough time to sort of grease the wheels and sort of get his methodology over. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think it's more a case, I think he was brought in because he was familiar with the majority of the squad. I just don't think he's been as, or it's not been as obvious to him how much a rot has set in at the moment. Obviously, he's been watching just like the rest of us have. But I'm sure he thought, like we did, that he could get a tune out of him if he said the right things to the right people and pulled it in the right ways. But there were a good analogy in our Platinum chat this morning. I think it was Rich that said that it's like Sayers has been putting diesel into a Ferrari and it's knackered the engine, it's frazzled the engine, and it's basically the quality players have been frazzled by this information. And I think that's a little bit kind on the players, if I'm honest. I think it's a good analogy in terms of what Sayers' impact has had in terms of trying to completely change and flip the script. But I think now we have to look at the players and we have to say, look, that we know what they can do. There's also some concerns that we've seen the best of a couple of these players and maybe they were playing above their levels last season. That may be the case, with a City Peck being one that I can pick out as an obvious example who hasn't reached the same levels yet as he did last season. He's had one real game to do that, and I think it's harsh to judge the players straight away. But yeah, what you're saying, you'd make some changes, Paul. What are your initial ones that stand out that you think might need changing?
Well, you mentioned City, and I think that, like you say, we're not seeing anything like the levels we saw before. I think at the moment, the central midfield area, I think a lot of people have a few issues with how that's playing out. I think personally the problems across the top four at the top of the pitch. I think when you've got O'Hare, Hamer, and Campbell, and we said that was the combination that worked for us last year. We were excited to add the ingredient of pace into the team with Ogbeni on the right hand side. We thought if they can reproduce what they can, then we can look forward to some wins this season, and hopefully a push up the table and see what happens, sort of thing. But none of them are at it. So none of those three, O'Hare, Hamer, and Campbell, I don't think they're at it. I think Ogbeni needs games, obviously, to get himself up to speed and to get used to what we'll want him to do and what Wilder will want him to do. And he's new to the squad, obviously. I think Matos is functional in there, but if City isn't hitting those heights, I think it might need a little rebalance. It might need a little reset, because I did say on the stream last night that O'Hare, I thought his best form for us since he joined us was the end of last season, when he was off the bench as an impact player towards the end of the season. I also think City might need taking out the firing line, and I would like to see some more of Samari, because I've been quietly impressed with what he's done when he's given the opportunity to do so. And I think that maybe him and Matos in there gives us a slightly better balance in the central midfield for the time being, until we get Blaster and Davies and we get a few more options in that position. I think that is a change that I might think about making. And yeah, I'd probably rest Cal O'Hare and think about the formation that we've spoken about a few times, and maybe put two up front, because I think that the forwards, Campbell's probably the one that's best suited to playing on his own, but he's had no service. And as a result, I'd like to see two up top with Hamer behind them. And yeah, that's what I'd love to see personally.
I think you've been quite consistent, Paul, with the formation that you would pick or the team that you would look to pick. But I think we all acknowledged that it were going to be a 4-2-3-1 yesterday. I know we'd spoken about it previously. Dave, you posted in our little group that we've got for 3MB that you liked the team yesterday. I would say exactly the same. It was the team that we expected largely. Even McGuinness, for me, a lot of us expected that. So I think that will be echoed by a lot of Blades pre-game. If I'm honest, I think if they think back, I know we were talking to people in Triple Point. They were happy with the team. It's very easy in retrospect to come back and say, why did he do this? Why is he playing Campbell? I know Paul's not saying why did he play O'Hare. He's saying like, look, now that we've seen a little bit more of this is what I'd tweak. So I think it's hard. I've seen people like Chirac were straight on yesterday. Wilder's this, Wilder's that. It's Jimmy, you're responsible for this as well because you didn't call it out last time. I didn't call it. He's right. 92 points. I didn't call it out. I thought it's more full me, but I think we have to look at the players now, and like my dad, for example. And I know I'm going off on a tangent, but and I've spoken to him about this. I said, you wouldn't say this on stream though, would you? He says, I would. So he's more than happy for me to talk about it. He'd get rid of Peck. He thinks Peck's an average. Certainly not at the moment. He says he's nowhere near the level that we need him to be. He's not overly impressed with Matos. The brief bits he's seen of him. He says I'd sell Hamer if we could get anybody remotely near his ability because I think we're too reliant on Hamer. He's concerned, like I've mentioned previously, about Ty Campbell at the moment this season. He's not keen on Ben Godfrey. There's a lot of good things he sees as well, by the way. But these are concerns that he's been niggling away at, and I'm not quite there yet myself where I want to go in on all these players. But I do think we have to look at their performances individually now and say, well, are they living up to expectations? Is it just a confidence thing? Confidence is a huge thing in football, but what do you think, Dave? Having not seen the game, but understanding how it's gone, what are your thoughts that they weren't able to rise to the expected levels yesterday?
I still think there's a big hangover from the playoff final. And sadly...
Ironic use of the term.
Oh, yeah. Success generally breeds confidence, and I think obviously with how the season started, the confidence has just completely been sapped out of the players. But now's the time to quote Roy Keane, got to show a bit of character and maybe go and smash into somebody just to make himself feel better. We need the senior heads to get a grip, get the team by the scruff of the neck, and start trying to drive us forward a little bit. And maybe we need to do something a little bit off the pitch that's a bit off-piste, just to get them to reset properly. There's been talks about recruitment and everything, but we are where we are until January. We've got to try and make the best of what we've got.
When I asked my dad what he'd look to do then, if those were his concerns, what would you do with it? He says, I think we draft the pensioners in, which is obviously a joke, but the older heads in, like a bit like you said in terms of experience, Dave. He says, I want to see Danny Ings alongside Tyrese Campbell, and I want Ben Mee in the lineup because I think we need that leadership on the pitch. I think we need that direction, and that's just one thing that he thinks we need to be looking at. It seems quite drastic after one game, but it's not one game, is it? It's 6 games now, and yes, there's been new players being bled into this team all the time, but even like Chong coming on yesterday, Dave. A couple of people thought he looked decent. Paul, what did you think to Chong coming on yesterday? Because I didn't think, really. I think he looked great. I thought it were ricocheting off him. I don't think he could get ball under control. I don't mean to dig him out individually, but I just think, there's been a lot of hype around some of these signings, and have we not got the level that we should have been going for? There's only Tanganga really that jumps out, don't there?
I think I think it's harsh to. He hasn't started a game yet, has he? And
I know, and we've got to try and guard against like snapshot reactions, I suppose.
The thing is, Jim, I think that when you're an attacking player, so when you're a Louis Barry, an Ogbenny, a Gus Amer, and certainly Chong, you've got to have you've got to be match sharp. And what match sharp means to a winger and an attacking player who commits players, runs at players, all those types of players, is it's half a yard off and you're just a different player completely. You can come in as a centre half, a bit half cooked, and be wise enough to play your way through the game, goalkeeper, certain positions you can manage yourself and things. But if you're not quite match sharp and you're coming on to try and skin a fullback or burst past people, it becomes really, really difficult. And it's and you'll notice in the Premier League and most other leagues, it's the most substituted position. It's one of those, those attacking positions, because the second they get tired, then they're half as effective as they were. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
And I think Chong, you have got to give him more time than.
I do, but I just think I don't want to go in on him, so I won't go over top on what I think. But I want to give him a chance, like I do everybody. But like we're rock bottom at the table, no points. Oxford have won today away at Bristol City, and we've got to go there on Saturday. And normally you'd fancy us to give him a game, and at the minute, it's just shot everybody's confidence, hasn't it? Yesterday, because we were so, obviously in hindsight, overly so. But
Your dad's right, Jim. Though I fully agree with what he said. Mainly because the changes that he thinks we need fit into what I think the team should be looking like at the moment. And the reason that you buy or you pay the money, they pay extra in wages for experienced footballers who've been there and done it, because they've seen this before. Usually they've seen something like this where the team's been down and out, and this is where we've said about inexperience and inconsistency. Young players get their heads down. And what we've got in Ben Mee and what we've got in Danny Ings, the players who've been there, done it and seen it and come out the other side of it and know how to do that. And that's kind of what is required for this team at this moment in time, because like Chris said, the fragility of it all at the minute, that's why you get these lads in, mate, because that, again, I don't want to keep repeating it, but they've seen this situation usually before. And they know that it turns so quickly. It turns not just for the team, but also individuals. One good performance can trigger a season for a player, and none of our players at the moment can look and say, "I'm on the up here. I'm getting better. I'm getting more confident," because they just haven't had the results to back that up. And we need one result. And I said I do doubt that we're going to get lucky, because at the moment, I think that we're just so far off being a creative force, and the methodology of how we go and attack hasn't worked at all, that we're not going to get those ricochets unless we start taking decent gambles. And for me, at centre forward, we've been completely ineffective. And I think that to give these strikers an opportunity to stop this little rot that we're in, of having a solo striker, which is a really hard position to play. It's really hard, the hardest position on the pitch. And I don't think that the players we've got lends itself to being a battering ram or someone who can sprint away from people or anything like that. So we've got to try and find a way to have a couple of strikers, and then hopefully Gussie in behind trying to feed him. For me, that's how I would go about it. And the width, those two out wide. Burrow's final ball quality, we hung out on it last year. He needs to get back to that. But he does need runners. He needs somebody to hit in that box, Jim. And a number of times you look up and see one guy in there surrounded by 3 or 4. We're not going to get that look unless we start committing players and start attacking spaces in the box, for me.
We are way too slow in the attacking phase. We give teams way too much, not necessarily respect, but just time, because we're not quick enough to get the ball up the field. And I was hoping with the addition of certainly the likes of Ogbenny, even Chong as well, who has got a turn of pace, but certainly Ogbenny, who's known for being rapid, that we would be away with the ball. But no, he turns back on himself at times, and we allow them to. Charlton just plugged the box yesterday, and we're really solid defensively, and I'm not taking anything away from them, but it was simple stuff. They just got in the defensive position, got set, and it were a case of, well, try and break us down if you can, and we couldn't. What needs thing is, he's going to stick with a 4-2-3-1, because he's mentioned Gus on the left-hand side again, and that being his best position. Dave, what needs to happen with this team? Do we? Because I fear that if we stick with a 4-2-3-1 and don't get a result at Oxford, it'll be panic stations. Do we need something drastic to happen here? Is it time to panic, or would you change a lot of the? We haven't had a settled side yet. Bearing in mind, there's been a lot of transition in terms of the window and players coming in. There's always been one or two added to the lineup and stuff like that, and switched out. Do we stand firm with a 4-2-3-1 that we believe in, or do we mix it up like Paul suggested? We should be looking at maybe bringing O'Hare off the bench rather than starting him, bringing Siddy out of the firing line because he's certainly not hit the ground running this season. Do we try and go with a different team? Do we stick with what we know to try and get some rhythm and some sharpness and some familiarity between the side, or do we switch the formation? Like a lot of us are saying, I don't think he will, but would you switch the formation to a 3 at the back and
No,
2 up top?
I don't. I really don't want to go back to 3 at the back. I don't.
Okay.
It's tough without having watched the game yesterday to see how it was different from the Sayers games. But I totally agree with. And for some time, even last season, we were too slow in how we get the ball at the pitch. I guess the concern, and maybe contradicting myself on the recruitment front, is that we're trying to get excited and pin our hopes on players like Ogbene, who Ipswich have in the same division of loan to us, Chong, who we've effectively bought out of League One. Apart from Tanganga, I don't feel we've really gone and brought anyone in over the summer that necessarily. I suppose you could argue Barry maybe, but we've not brought players in that.
He was terrible yesterday.
But the other top teams in the championship were going for and got we've got he'd walk straight into any team in league, and we've gone out and got him, and I just.
Tanganga was it, wasn't it? Really, in that respect.
Yeah. So let's not. I think it's very difficult. I always thought the Ogbene one was an odd signing in why have they let him come to us? It just didn't quite add up for me. But I've not seen him play properly live. But
I thought he did all right. I know, Paul, you weren't overly impressed from what I saw in your commentary yesterday, but I thought he did okay yesterday, Ogbene. I thought he struggled to beat his man, and he cut inside and he went backwards a little bit, but I thought he offered us something different, and for me, he's certainly an upgrade on the right-hand side.
Well, again, I wouldn't necessarily read too much into that.
I know.
We've had that. Ukaki's total unproven, and Brooks, who I stand by it, isn't a right winger for me. So to have an improvement on the pair of them maybe I've been overly negative about it. I don't know, but we've got to do something within there to sort of reignite a little bit of fight and a little bit of chest out. I wonder with Gus whether he really needs an arm around him a little bit, and a bit how like Grealish has gone in at Everton and just looks like the player he was. How do we get that back? And do we put him in the 10, take O'Hare out, and that might give him a little bit more freedom to move about? He's dangerous on the edge of the box. But if
you don't go to a 3 at the back, Dave, how do you get Gus in the 10? Because who goes wide? Who's your wide man?
Well, you could try Chong on the left and have Ogbene on the right. If Barry's been that disappointing.
Barry came on the right wing yesterday for Ogbene on about 65 minutes.
Okay.
And Hamer stayed on the left. Chong came on and for Callum O'Hare and was in the 10.
For all the brilliant stuff Wilder does, he can be known sometimes for being stubborn with how he wants to go about doing things. So he's more than likely he's just going to continue with him out on the left.
But he got player at year, didn't he?
Look. I won't get into. I'm in a funny old mood because I've had very little sleep.
Good time to get you.
You sound like Barry White, mate.
No. Yeah, that's because of the shouting and stuff last night. And they're shouting on touchline this morning. But Jack Robinson got player of the year before. So
No, he got Sheffield United's player of the year.
Yeah, okay. No, but look, Gus was brilliant. Gus is fantastic. We need to find a way of getting his.
He's not been this season, though, has he? Nobody
No,
else.
no, he needs to find a way of getting his chest out. They probably need the ball to go in off someone's backside, scrape a 1-0, and then they kind of just breathe then and go, it's all right, we've got some points on the board. And then it's about building it up from there. But he's probably realised, there's a lot more to do than he thought. And with anything in these scenarios, you can't solely blame a manager for things going badly. The players do have to look at themselves, and they make decisions on the pitch, which, they're not got somebody, he's not got they've not all got earpieces in, and coaches telling them what to do every second of the game. So they've got to take a little bit of responsibility for how they've handled themselves, and sort of, it's a bit of a clean slate, and that they've got to say, right, no, you can't drop me. I'm gonna drag this team forward. That's where the senior guys. I want to see Ings in there, but I agree. I don't think he can really play up front on his own. We haven't really got anybody who it feels like can, unless they've got a really tight partner who's playing in the 10.
What does he need to do, Paul, with this team?
Well, certainly, I think there needs to be a change. I think what players are in there for is a little bit unclear at the minute. So I think that when you talk about certain players, what you're looking for is, what is their USP? What are they in there for? What are they going to give us that somebody else can't? And if you're going to get in the first 11 and you're going to play in one of those wide areas, or you're going to play in the 10, you're looking at output. You're looking at what have you given us at the end of the game? Because you are in there for one reason, that is to be creative, that is to get assists, it's to get goals, it's to make some action happen. Now, it hasn't been disastrous at the back. It hasn't been great, but it hasn't been disastrous. Certainly not on Saturday. And that's the foundation. That's where you've got to start. And you've got to start keeping some clean sheets, or again, minimising the amount of goals that other teams score. That's the first thing. After that, the players at the top there. So you said about Ogbenny, and you said I was a little bit disappointed. Now, I did say that I think I had my expectations, like a lot of Blades going into this weekend, were probably too high for the squad, and probably for some of the new lads and some of our existing star players, as it were.
Mm.
If you look at Hamer and you look at Ogbenny, who I'm quite excited about, and certainly O'Hare, who I've had an issue with his output for an awful long time. His USP is the energy levels he brings to the game, the way that he can, and he's basically his relationship with Hamer and Campbell, that for me give him a little bit of X factor in our team. Hamer needs to score goals. He needs to creative balls through. He needs to better crosses. All these things, all the things that we expect from Gus Hamer. Ogbenny, commit your player, get past him, get good balls into the box, score a goal yourself, look after the ball. I think that's one thing that we haven't done very well. When the ball does go forward, I don't see us looking after that ball very well and making it stick. We talk about making it stick. If you're a solo striker in a team, even if you're one who's a bit of a battering ram who looks after the ball and brings other players in, perfect, that's fine. But do that and do that well. If you're somebody who's going to run away from somebody and you're gonna run channels like a bit like what Campbell can give us when he's on form, then do that, but do that well, okay? Because if you're not doing that, and certainly Campbell hasn't done that this season, what are you bringing to the table? Because for me, when that ball does go wide, the quality into the box has been poor, but also the options for the player delivering the ball. We've got too many who like to hang around on the edge of the box, and not enough people who are willing to go in there, put their head on things, and arrive in the box for things. On Benny, the reason I was a little bit disappointed was I was thinking, right, this guy, get him 1v1 on the fullback. He's going to have the legs to go past, and then we want to see some decent quality into the box. I just didn't really see it. I thought that's what he would be bringing to the table, because in the Premier League he was a real threat when I saw him play. And I do say that in these positions, and I'll go back to it, they need to be sharp. They need to be match ready. They need to be fit. They need to be good to go. And I know he's coming back from an injury, so I do give him a little bit more time before I pass judgment. Louis Barry, for me, the problem I've got with him is at the minute, the level looks to me a little bit too physical for him in terms of he looks lightweight. He looks like if he goes shoulder to shoulder, he's going to end up in the stand because I think that some of the defenders are going to be too big and strong for him.
Looks like a boy, doesn't he?
Yeah, if you're gonna be that player that wants to cut inside, and I mean, I haven't seen him. I saw him go the other way a little bit on Saturday, but he's got to be quick enough to beat the man that he's up against. If you're going to be in them wide areas, you've got to be fleet of foot. You've got to be sharp. You've got to be able to go past people. Not seeing it, not seeing the sharpness and the power needed at the level. So again, I think he's got work to do. And certainly, you know, we said it last year how much we relied on Gus. Gus is nowhere near where he was last year. And it almost was, this was a little telltale last year as well, in that when Gus didn't play well, where was the goal coming from? And we said that last year as well, didn't we? And I think we hang our out on him way too much. And certainly I don't think he's at his best at the minute.
Can I I'm just jumping in, but how were we with what I'd call, you know, the basics, you know, taking some of the complicated stuff out of.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Fine.
So there's
I think it were an improvement yesterday. I just don't think it was anywhere near the levels we were expecting or needed it to be.
No, but there's a rebuilding of a foundation though. If they're starting to do the basics of the game more like they should be doing, because I feel like we'd lost a lot of that.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
We do need a platform to build on, Dave. But what I wanted to do in prep, and I haven't had time to. I've been quite busy, unfortunately, is I wanted to look at, and I know that it won't be a great stat, the number of chances and the XG and things like that we create. Now, I'm not a massive advocate for XG, but we do not look like creating.
Your eye test will tell you all I think you need to know on that.
Yeah, we don't. We're very poor.
Like when we go forward, Dave, we do not look like we are going to trouble the goalkeeper.
Did anything yesterday look even the slightest bit better from that perspective? Did we look like were the right types of runs? You know these things where you go, it's not come off, but it's the right idea.
I would say, Dave, the bit in the middle, the bit in between the two boxes that Wilder talks about, I'd have said it was 6 out of 10 yesterday.
Right.
I would say it started okay in terms of you could see the intent, you could see that we were trying to ride the momentum a little bit. But as the game faded a little bit and Charlton came into it a little bit more, we struggled to break him down. There were telltale signs of confidence just zapping out of the players. Okay. So Ty Campbell, for example, and I got called out for speaking about Ty Campbell specifically yesterday, but he was static yesterday. Right. There was not a lot of movement either side. He wasn't making himself available or showing for the ball like you'd expect him to. And it's a confidence thing. It's not an ability thing because we've seen him do it. It's a confidence thing.
Is it?
Yeah, it is.
You know, in terms of making runs and things, though, as a centre forward, there's a certain degree of it where you go, I can forgive a confidence thing when you can tell with a player that they're not pulling the trigger, that they're second guessing what they're going to do before they do it. It's
like Callum O'Hare in front of goal.
Well, we've always been critical of him for being a bit shot shy, haven't we? But yeah, so that split second thing where they could pull a trigger and they don't, and they're like, and it's a sort of, the hesitation. There should still be, for me, a degree of, from a mentality perspective, of showing for the ball, making those runs into channels like Paul's mentioned, if that's what that's what you're about. Trying to stretch the opposition's defence. That's the kind of basic stuff I'm talking about in the final third.
None of that.
Centre forward.
No, not yesterday.
But I don't think that's a confidence issue. Personally.
So I've got the stats in front of me, right? So yesterday, 63% possession, so dominating the ball. XG for Sheffield United, 0.58 goals expected. XG for Charlton, 0.85 with 37% possession. 13 shots apiece, 1 on target for United, 4 for Charlton. Saves 3 from Cooper, 1 from their goalkeeper. 6 corners to 1 in our favour. Never looked like getting on the end of a corner and scoring a decent header at goal and forcing anything. It's just it's that last bit. You know,
It's having the ball and doing note with it.
If you have if you have the ball 63% of the time, you should be having two out of the 3 shots in the game, surely. You know,
yeah, if you're doing it right,
if
and
you're
we're not.
doing it right.
So I want to. I think it's pertinent. And I'm going to ask Dave this first, but Clarkey, who's a pal of ours, he's a Platinum Rambler, long-time Rambler. He dropped us a little question earlier on, and we'll get into the comments after this, but I think it's worthwhile discussing. He says, as much as we love Chris Wilder, does he and his team fail to get the best out of the strikers? Is it not a question of the quality of the player, but the system that doesn't get the best out of them? Furthermore, should fans stop being so quick to judge a player and destroy their confidence, such as Brewster and Cannon, if the service they get is poor? Apart from the greatest EFL striker of all time, Billy Sharp, which other striker has done well under Wilder? Additionally, that could extend to if the common goal for fans, players, management team and club is to win games of football, then to what extent is bemoaning players on the pitch mutually beneficial? How many supporters would do their best work with loads of critical voices telling them they're poor at their jobs? At what point does it pay? Do you pay your money, you're entitled to your opinion, actually become sometimes just better to say nothing? Dave, thoughts on Clarkey's point raised there?
You've done a U to your dad there and asked about 16 questions in one question, hasn't he?
Yes, but it's you know where he's going with it.
Again, my brain's not in its best place. I'll try and remember the bits out of it and my initial sort of reaction to it.
He's basically saying, should we be criticising the players when really there's other people?
That's sport in my eyes, and that is part and parcel of.
Does it become counterproductive to get on their back rather than?
Well, these guys aren't daft, and if you were just nicey with them all the time, they'd see right through it anyway. So, I think there's a difference between saying somebody's not performing at the level that they should be doing and doing the things that they should be doing, versus abusing them and saying, they're a donkey or something like that. And I don't think that's necessarily productive of any kind, but I'm sure everybody in their work before has had people turn around and say, you could be doing that better, or let me give you some feedback on this. And I think it's like anything. It's how you go about presenting it. In answer to his question about strikers that I think we've done well with. I think Wilder's done well with a good few strikers, to be honest. I think we've had, even in flashes, someone who he got a tune out of Lise Mousset for a season who was unplayable. Would you argue McBurney was more of a success if he could take the transfer fee out of it?
Under Wilder, I'd say so, yeah.
Yeah, Didsey,
Didsey, top class.
Unbelievable. Still is. Billy, I know you mentioned Billy.
Well, that's been our core under Wilder, hasn't it, really?
Yes, I think, we've had some really good strikers. I think he's done, and I can see if Ings can stay fit and we can feed him. I can see Ings thriving under Wilder.
I can too.
So,
I think in terms of, I'll come to you in a minute, Paul. I want to say that I agree with what Dave said there. I think it's par for the course and that doesn't make it right that they're there to be criticised, but it's part of they can expect it as part, a little bit like we should expect being online and giving our opinion. We should expect people to disagree
when we're live on the internet.
When we're live on the internet, this happens, doesn't it? You might not like it that people disagree with your opinion, but you have to, if you're going to put yourself out there, and this is certainly not a green flag to throw abuse our way, but people are going to disagree with you, and that's us on a very small scale compared to people playing in front of 30,000 people every week who want and need their team to do well, and want to support the players in doing well, but will be disappointed if they don't do well, and particularly if they don't feel like they're meeting the levels that we've seen of these players before, underperforming in a lot of people's eyes. So I think it's right, but like Dave says, I think there's a way of doing it. I think you can constructively criticise, you can even be vocally disappointed, but it's never personal. And I know people think in the past that with the one or two players I've been quite it hasn't been personal. Well, there's issues. It's never a personal issue. It's always about performance on the field or individuals' actions or anything like that you will take as isolated incidents. Paul, what's your thoughts on it, pal?
Well, I think it's a point that I disagree with to the extent that we are supporters. We're not talking about, again, back to talking like coaching kids and things like that. The only time that I ever have a go at the players that I manage is when I see a lack of effort. So when I see them not trying as hard as they can, then I will call them out on that straight away. If they do something technical that's incorrect, or they miss a shot, or they give the ball away, or they do something, make a bad decision, never, because it's because of the level that they're at. Now, these guys are professional sports people. They don't have to listen to what we've got to say about it. We're here because we like interacting with supporters. We do it for fun, effectively, and we're here because I think we're entitled to an opinion that allows us to say, well, I thought that he was poor today, I thought he was good today, because they've put themselves on that platform in an elite position, supposed to be really good at their job. And I think the Sheffield United supporters generally are quite fair. If we see players running around and doing the things that Wilder kind of represents almost in terms of the hard work and the non-negotiables, I think they usually get quite a bit of change out of Sheffield United supporters. That's what I see. They show that they've got a good attitude. They show that they're putting everything into the shirt. Then we'll forgive them, won't we? Even if they're not the best technical footballers in the world, if we see them making recovery runs, making tackles, and working hard and trying stuff, then we'll get behind them. I can't get on board with. I don't want to say happy clapping because that's not what I mean. But I can't get on board with the idea that we're not allowed to say Femi Siriki was poor on Saturday because it might hurt his feelings. If he was one of my students or if he was one of my players I was coaching, I wouldn't do that in front of other people. But he's not. He's a professional footballer, and as long as you're not doing it, like you say, you're not going in personally and trying to attack these people and trying to, make their lives a misery and booing them on the pitch, and like say what we've called out on this channel, cheering when they get substituted. I don't agree with any of that, Paul, and I'm with you if that's what you're talking about.
I agree.
But I think fans of football teams, the whole thing is about your opinion. It's all about enjoying it. It's all about talking about the footy. That's 50% of the enjoyment for us, is talking about what's happening on the pitch. Yeah, it's not great at the moment. We've had really good seasons. We still dig them out we still have things that we want to be better, even when they're doing really well. And I think that's when it's difficult. I think we just got to remind ourselves it'll get better. And then we'll find something else to moan about, because that's what football fans do, isn't it?
Femi Siriki is a really good example, particularly because he's come through our youth team as well. I know we bought him into our youth team, but I think he's a really good example of somebody who supporters clearly want to do well, and it sort of splits opinion. We do it with Andre Brooks as well when we don't think he's ready and stuff, and it splits opinion because you want him to do well, and other people are very vociferous in, you should be supporting that. We are supporting them. Whenever they wear the shirt, I always want them to do well, but we'll always come on and be honest with his opinion. And thankfully, I think we've created an environment where we can be honest and give an opinion, and people will know it's not a personal thing, and we'll try and be as respectful as we can. But Femi Siriki is a good example. If Femi Siriki is our best option at right back, and people still don't think he's good enough for the level, then how do you articulate that? Do you blame Femi Siriki? Because, like you're saying, Paul, it's not a lack of effort. It might be a lack of current ability. It's not to say he won't become a great right back at the level, because he may do. But it might be a lack of, and I'm just using him as an example of, hypothetically speaking, really. Do you blame the manager for putting him in that position? Do you blame the club for not getting in somebody of a better caliber? I think there's a much bigger picture to whatever context you're talking about, really. For a long time, last season, when I were bemoaning why is Jack Robinson being picked, it's because I thought there was a better option on the bench. I was not happy with some of his performances, but I also blame Chris Wilder for not selecting Rob Holding instead of Jack Robinson. There must have been a reason, but who do you blame? Who do you blame? Because it's not a lack of effort from Sariki. There might not be a better option. He played Ben Godfrey there other day, for example, but it's a tough one to sort of... It's not really anybody's fault in this situation. Wilder's come in, he's got the options available to him that he's got, and if we see an average to poor performance from a Ben Godfrey, then it's not because Godfrey wants to play useless against Ipswich, but he was useless against Ipswich, and it's tough not to... Certainly not going on him as an individual. We're going in on the performance as a player, but we've got no better options. So that's a collective responsibility, I think, as a club, really. I don't know if I'm making much sense there, but
yeah, no,
I agree.
You're right, there's more to it than just just saying it's the player's fault for not playing well. Like you say, they don't want to do that. Sometimes, they're human beings, aren't they?
yeah, exactly right.
There's so many errors made. Even like you watch the top level, you watch the Premier League, arguably the best league in the world, and you can count on 2 or 3 hands every week the number of mistakes that you spot, and it's footy. What makes it interesting.
Yeah. I've just watched Man City, and Arsenal, and when Arsenal have equalised, and Gary Neville's saying, to City defenders, why have they done that? They didn't need to do that. So, even at that level, we're talking about some of the best players, arguably in the world. They still make mistakes and get punished for it, and that's life.
Thank you for that, Clarky. I think it's a good talking point. We all disagree with you, but
You're wrong. We respect your opinion. You're wrong.
No, I think
respect it.
No, because I think there'll be other like-minded people like Clarky who think, to a degree, it's just football. So why are we going in so harsh on these people? But it's a football opinion. It's not a personal opinion. It's I think we need to be doing better, or this lad needs to be doing better on this day, whatever it might be. So,
football. I think it is. The context is important. It's professional football, and I think fans have to have the right to vote what they think, and that's kind of what this whole thing is, isn't it? Really, without it, we might as well pack up and clear off.
We've been going 52 minutes. I haven't read one comment yet, other than Clarky's message to us. So Russ says, "We're now realising what we had in Kiefer Moore: work rate off the ball, creating space for other players, and also." An out ball would win 9 times out of 10. I do understand the theory of getting big wages out and a return on an aging player, but that's just one aspect of it. I'm not saying he was brilliant, but in context of what he provided for us at the top end of the championship, selling more is looking like poor business. And for me, keeping him was a calculated risk worth taking. I think that's very, very easy to say in hindsight, Russ, and I'm not saying you weren't saying that at the time. I also have to say, I was a proponent of, I liked Kiefer Moore. My dad liked Kiefer Moore. We were quite vocal on it. But I also said the business was too good to turn down for Sheffield United. As a third choice striker on 35 grand a week, you make a profit on him, you get 2 million quid in. I don't think we could turn it down as a club. I think it's been a good decision for the club and a poor decision for the team is probably the best way to put it. Paul, you were shaking your head through that. What were your thoughts, mate?
Well, just that I think Kiefer Moore would. I'm in fairness to him, I don't think we utilised him the way that we needed to. I think he definitely came into his own more towards the end of the season when he was played as part of a 2. I'm championing that now, and I wouldn't mind having more still at the club. But if you'd have said to me at the end of the season, "Oh, you're going to ship more off and make a little profit on him, he's going to be gone, but you can get Ings instead,"
and 2 million quid in your pocket.
I don't know who. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I'm wrong because of what he can bring aerially to the table. But I don't think there's too many picking more over Ings, is there?
Dave, thoughts on losing Kiefer Moore? Is it a mistake in hindsight?
Hindsight's 20/20, innit? So I think not signing a striker of that ilk was probably a mistake, and. Maybe I was talking to somebody this morning, one of the other managers that Aaron's Aaron's club, who's a Blade, and sort of saying if Wilder had been there over the summer, we probably would have bought McBurney back, and that probably would have been a smart decision looking back on it. But it is what it is. We definitely didn't play to Kiefer's strengths. I think the fact that he never posted anything sort of saying bye or whatnot showed he wanted out anyway. So an offer like that comes in, player doesn't want to stay. It's a bit of a, what do? Don't force him to keep putting a shirt on, make your money and move on. We probably should have replaced him.
I love hungover Dave. Paul says, "Hi, great Blades show, lads. Hope Tufty tries a 3-5-2 system to win. I'd now play Ben Mee. We need a leader, and I'd now give Samari a chance to play. He wants 2 up top." Lewis says, "Let's remember the unsung heroes, the partners we don't see on stream like Mrs. Mountain." Yes, I'm digging you out, mate, especially as we're live on the internet. On a serious note, it's time for the players to step up. Mitigation for the Ruben era, and yes, confidence is low, but a big boy pants time. Yesterday I was there for the taking, and we were anxious. It'll get better, Blades. We just need to win to light the flare. Up the Blades, up the Ramble, and up the 3MB. Bunch of legends, even if you've been in the doghouse. Remember to like, share, and hype. Andrew says, no physical presence in midfield, no strength or aggression up front. Crying out for a 3-4-1-2. Wingers aren't working, no crosses or shots coming inside. Does anybody think that he goes there eventually? Like, if it doesn't work against Oxford, do you think he's completely against a 3-4-1-2, a 3-5-2, whatever it might be? He seems to be at the moment, but I think it's obvious to have a look at that. I know you don't want to, Dave. Paul, what's your thoughts?
I think when Ings is fit, the question gets asked again. So I think because Ings isn't fit, I think he's got to try and get Ings on the field. When he's fit, and he'll think that I've got a 20 goal striker on my hands if we can get him firing. And it hasn't worked. One in the middle up top, and it hasn't worked for Cannon. It isn't working for Campbell. I think there is going to have to be a change of how he goes about it at some point. It could be 4-3-3, could be, oh God, I didn't want to chuck another option out there, but it could be that. So we'll have to see. But I just feel like we've got 3 strikers. If you count Cannon as the 3rd and you put Ings in the 2, I think it lends itself to that. And I think the team I feel like we've got players in Burrows, Sariki, Ogbeni, and even McCallum on the other side who fit that system much better.
Wing backs, yeah.
Yeah, we're as wing backs, as it were, than they do as part of a 4. I do worry about Burrows as a 4 at the minute, because I just feel like if there was another head in there, some better know-how like Ben Mee, I think that
we saw it with Suter, didn't we? That it seemed to provide a lot of calmness to the back line.
Yeah,
and we were in such a better position when he were here. Peak says, "Evening, Jimmy, Dave, and the man that's live on the internet, Duck. It's only 1 loss for CW, and that's his first game back. Things will get better, and we will progress up the Blitz, up the Ramble. Like and subscribe, Duck." Justin says, "Little bit worried about the recruitment strategy. Barry and Bindon are League One players. We haven't been able to sign a proper right back since Baldock or Bogle. Godfrey this year, and had 3 on loan last season. We've replaced Sousa with Matos, completely different profiles, and even Ings doesn't replace more for me. Up the Blades, up the Ramble." David says, "McGuinness is awful. Who taught him how to head a ball? Can't judge the flight of a ball." V. White says, "Jimmy, I'm live on the internet."
It needs to go on a t-shirt.
Oh, dear me. Man Mountain, he's alive, and he's live. All is well in the Blades world. Yes, up the Blades, up all the Rambles. Like and subscribe. He needs his own line of merch. It's got to be live on the internet. Poohousery. That's another one. Yeah. Housewife's favourite. Great performance, Jim, against that Wendy fan on Sunsport, by the way. Thank you, Joe. I sit on the pie corner, and Godfrey's positioning was awful all first half. I'd like to see Gibril and Matos in midfield for added oomph. That's something that Paul's leaned into. How's the marriage, Man Mountain? We're not going to answer personal questions on here. Look, if there's difficult periods,
it's absolutely fine. We laughed our heads off about 10 minutes later, so don't worry about it. She didn't realise I was on stream, so
Didn't realise.
As soon as I walked in the kitchen, she was laughing her head off. So that's all right.
Please stay positive. People's heads will fall off soon. They are so loose, says Dave Morwood. Blunt Yorkshireman says, bar the centre-backs, same problems from last season remain. No pace, no counter, slow play. Wingers from systems without wingers. Worsened now by loss of form. CW needs to go to wing-backs and 2 up front to compensate. Danny says, Peck and McGuinness look so solid. Great performance from them too.
What was that?
6 out of 10 for Saturday's performance. Got 21 seconds to go.
Oh, that's what it was it?
It's shown out yesterday. I'm not sure Peck and McGuinness looked solid or so solid. Not for me.
Jim, you do know me and Dave can't see you, don't you?
No.
Yeah, pretty much the entire stream I'll just be looking at my own face.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, you should be able. Oh, hang on.
You wouldn't have this on StreamYard, would you, Paul?
I definitely wouldn't, mate. Not a chance. You see me now?
Shut up. Andrew says, any feedback on the safe standing? Did it make a difference to the atmosphere? No. No, I wouldn't say so. In fact, my dad commented, look, if we could see them, you'd have expected them to be louder, and they weren't. No, look, I think it's a great initiative. I think it's a great idea, and I'm all for it because there's so many that love that element of it. I don't think I didn't feel it directly impact the atmosphere yesterday. I have to say, I thought the Tifo were absolutely incredible yesterday. That came up with Wilder. I think the other flags that were for Steve Thompson and Mardy Cusack were brilliant. But in terms of the safe standing improving the atmosphere, I think we've a long way to go to get the atmosphere back at Ramble Lane. But we've nothing to shout about at the minute, have we? We're a nervous crowd to play in front of because we're not seeing anything that offers us anything to get excited about. And I think that's obvious by the way the crowds. I don't think we were great last year at times, if I'm honest. I think the away fans are incredible. But I think the home atmosphere, and I'm a part of this, hasn't been the best. And we do need to improve the home atmosphere. I don't know if you lads would agree.
Yeah, it's largely rubbish. But I don't think getting a few people stood up was going to make a massive difference after so many straight defeats. I think we need to. I think addressing that will address the atmosphere, not allowing people to stand up.
I think if you've been in the cup and at the back there. I've been in there when they just stand up anyway, and it's like they might as well make it safe, or let those people that want to stand up because I think it's it's a bit of a game, isn't it? As long as everyone around you agrees. Like I've been told to sit down before, and then that causes. then you go, well, hang on, we're at a footy match, mate, and I don't know if people want to stand up there. I have no problem with it at all, to be frank, and. I don't see how it will improve the atmosphere, really.
Ian says CW always said in his plan last year was to build for 2 years. He did it faster, but they never gave him an opportunity. He will get there, but lost time and money due to the owners. Yeah, I agree with that. I'm going to spin on a little bit now to try and get some that were during the show because they all came beforehand, really. Bran has just become a member. Thank you for becoming a Ramble pal. Very much appreciated. Diane says Oxford just won 3-1 at Bristol City. What a chance we've got on Saturday. I'm very worried. Yeah, absolutely right. Sean says, sorry, Jimmy, but why is it now that we have to look at the players? If Sayers was in charge on Saturday, it would have got dogs abuse. But because it's Wilder now, now it's due to the players. Fair. How can you, after one game, I think it's harsh to blame Chris Wilder for a loss and a performance like that. He knows the situation he's walked into. A lot of us are expecting him to turn it around, and he didn't. But I would still back him to turn it around so much more than I would Ruben Sayers, and that's just my opinion. And I think, at what point do you blame the players? We're 6 games in, they've not won any. They've not even drawn a game. When do we look at the players? I think how do you? Would it be easier if I went in on Chris Wilder then and said, right, what are we doing here now? That's flip flopping, isn't it? That's flip flopping and saying, why have we brought Chris Wilder back? It's clearly not working. Let's change it again. I don't understand the why you can't look at the players, or why you think it's just that I'm here to protect Chris Wilder. I'll tell you something. If it goes on another 5 to 10 games, of course we'll be talking about Chris Wilder. We weren't talking about Ruben Sayers being to blame after game 1. We were talking about, well, he needs more players. He needs more backing from the owners because the team were clearly undercooked, and we tried staying with him. It wasn't. Sayers would be getting dog's abuse if we'd have lost again, because there was no plan, no nothing. We didn't see anything from any of the players throughout his time, I would say, other than the odd spurt of 10, 15 minutes in 2 games. There was a 30-minute spell in one game, in the first game, I think it was, and a 15-minute spell against Millwall at the back end of the game when they were already beating us. So, yeah, I feel it's fully justified to criticise Sayers, as did 99.9% of the fan base towards the end of his tenure. Only 5 competitive games in, by the way, in the league. I think to go in on Wilder now would be ridiculous, quite frankly, to be honest.
It's way too early. Way too early. There's no magic wands. You can't turn a poor side who are playing very, very poorly, way below their par. You can't.
I were expecting more. I
was. Me too.
And you could look at Wilder for that, but what else could he have done? What else could he have done?
You've got to give him a certain number of games to sort of have a marked improvement on the performances. So yeah, and if Charlton hadn't scored that late goal, I know I don't want to say that because it means that if this and if that, but I don't know. I don't think it wasn't that bad, but I am worried about how we're going to create chances and score goals at the moment, based on the selection and what we've got on the pitch at this time, and the form of those players, the form of those key individuals that just aren't doing it. And yeah, we certainly can't go turn on Wilder after 5 days in the job and his first game in charge. You know, if, like we said, if it's 5, 6, 7 games down the road, and he's had lots of chances to work with the players, and we're not picking up any victories, then people will start looking at Chris, and he'll start looking at himself, won't he?
I get that some aren't convinced by Wilder, and I completely understand it. And Sean's one of our Platinum Ramblers, so I know that he's not on the bandwagon of he wants Wilder to fail so that he can be right. It's just he's never been, or he's certainly not recently been convinced by Chris Wilder. So I don't know, Sean. What would you have done? What would you have done in this situation, mate? Would you have gone with somebody else? I don't know what the options were. I'm delighted that it's Chris Wilder personally, and that will come as no surprise to anybody. But I don't think there's anybody better that could turn it around personally. So Brett says, with a £10 super chat, thank you, Brett, very much appreciated, pal. The team look like their confidence is on the floor. They look scared to lose the ball or shoot and waste an attack in case fans get on their back. Small margins win games. It will come. Up the Ramble, like and subscribe. I don't think it's in case fans get on the back, because I agree with Wilder that I don't think the fans were after the players before this game, and I don't think we should be now. I'm not sort of saying that. I'm saying we need to share the blame around a little bit rather than just focus on Ruben Sayers. But I don't think we'll be like booing the players or calling for them or anything like that. We're all trying to come up with how do we turn this around? But I don't think the players should be, because it were largely a decent atmosphere yesterday in terms of there were no negativity, there were no moans and groans or anything like that I was aware of. It was disappointing overall, don't get me wrong, but I never felt like the fans weren't with the players. So I don't think it's in case fans get on their back, but I do agree that the confidence is on the floor. Dave, confident it comes?
Absolutely. We'll be right. We'll be right. Wilder's done it before. He'll do it again. I've got to believe that we're going to be all right. Otherwise, what's the point in going? What's the point in being sat here talking about it? I am the type of person generally that I will always try and find, something positive to hang on to. I find it's a more useful emotion than despair or anger about it. I think he's realised he's got a bigger job on his hands than he thought. I think it's really good that we're looking at bringing in, a couple of new coaches into the mix, which will bring some different ideas. I'm sure I saw an advert. One of them's a striker coach that we're looking for or advertising for.
Okay.
So yeah, I think I just hope we don't have this definition of insanity type scenario where he looks and goes, I'll keep going back to how we played last season because we worked last season. It's not last season. But we could go out and not change it and smash Oxford 4-0 at the weekend, and suddenly we just turn around and go, oh, well, whatever he's done this week's worked, and he's back to being, golden proverbials and all that. So we'll be right. I'm not going as far yet as saying we're going to get promoted or playoffs, but I'm not concerned that we're going to get relegated or anything like that. I think
I'm not at the moment.
We'll click.
Jimmy says, glad it's not a 3-game week. He's got 7 days to get some work and tactics into them. Needs 2 up front or hair off the bench, like Paul's been saying. Bran says, evening, gents. Took the plunge and became a platinum rambler tonight. Thank you, Bran. Very much appreciated, pal. Yesterday was a big realisation that we're not a good team. We're just a team with a handful of good individuals. It hurts me to say we're banging trouble here, lads. It's not as if we're creating loads and not getting the rub of the green. If we can't beat Charlton at home, we might as well throw the towel in. I don't think it's that bad, Bran. I just think it's not. I think it's a sad indictment of where the players' heads are at currently. Mark Meldrew says you stop us out wide and you stop us as a team. Mark says if any attacking threat at all, disappointed when Campbell. Oh, hang on. I don't know if that's a continuation. It doesn't. I can't see a previous comment from Mark, but I assume you mean no attacking threat at all. Any attacking threat at all disappeared when Campbell went off and Tommy Cannon came on and hardly got his foot on the Bobby ball. I don't know what anyone had seen to go throw in 10 million for him. It wasn't 10 million. We've talked about this before. I don't think we had any attacking threat when Campbell was on either yesterday. So I don't class him in the same bracket. I think Campbell is a better player and rightly starts over Cannon. I think he's proven that last season in terms of he deserves to wear the shirt. But I think it's harsh on Cannon just to call Cannon out for who was largely ineffective. But so was Ty Campbell yesterday for me. And that you could look at the service to him. I understand that as well because, like I say, some will say we've not given him a chance, but I don't think any of the runs were there. I don't think they were anticipating anything. And I think we've been lacking at the top of the pitch as much as we have behind those at the top of the pitch as well.
I've said it numerous times to the lads that play up front for me, and again, it's a different age group, but Paul uses the analogy quite a lot, and I think it's powerful. But all you can do is make the right runs and be in the right positions. If the ball doesn't come to you or the pass isn't made into you, that's not your fault. You're not in control of that. But you can control making sure that you're in the right places at the right time.
Yeah. Flyover Fred says, Hamer and Ings would be far better than most have in the league. Ings' movement is excellent. Love to be able to see it. Brian says, good Lord, people, we're 6 games into a new season. Reality check, loads of games to come. Pick yourselves up. It's the trajectory of performances, Bri, that's the concern. I still think Chris Wilder will turn it around. I'm like Dave. I don't fear for us long term. I fear for us this season, and this season is a must challenge this season. And we're drifting quickly, and we are putting ourselves so far behind because that bleeds into next. If we have mid-table obscurity, which some will think is a blessing after the start. But if we end up with mid-table obscurity this season, we quickly drop into a average level of wages and things like that, and we'll lose some star players, and things will be a lot tougher for us next season than they should have been this year. It's a big ask. Liam says we can't move the goalposts so quickly. Wilder needed because he could get this squad up the league. Now maybe the squad's not good enough. Wilder will want to be held to his own previous high standards. I'm not saying the players aren't good enough. I'm saying that they need to look at their own performances currently because we've seen better performances out of these players. Paul, any thoughts on that, mate?
Yeah, I think my worry and the thing that I keep going back to is the amount of chances that we're creating and the creative part of the game. 0 against Middlesbrough. 2 limp efforts against Ipswich, 1 at home to Charlton in Wilder's first game when we're riding the wave of enthusiasm from the supporters, full house nearly. We've got to be able to create more than that. I think What did you know? I'm at the minute, and I haven't seen. I didn't see the type of improvement from some key players who I know we all know are really happy Wilder's back in the building. Peck, Campbell, Hamer. We expected those three in particular, I think, to turn up on Saturday. I think we all did. We all thought they're going to turn up on Saturday, and we're going to be all right if they do. It's just that. That's my worry at the minute. Like you say, when you talk about players and strikers, you don't mind, like Dave says, if they're getting in the right positions and they're putting themselves in with an opportunity to score and have the mindset to keep going and doing that, they're going to get a goal eventually. My issue at the minute is we are not creating anything, and there is no clear-cut chances. There is nobody getting threaded through. We are not working goalkeepers.
We're not at all. No, we're not
at all, and that is poor. Like Saturday, we had 6 corners. Our XG from set plays was 0.1. Okay, we did not look like a threat from corners. We did not look like there was going to be a scramble and we were going to get a goal. We talk about getting lucky. You make your own luck. You've got to shoot. We had 13 shots, 1 on target, 8 from outside the box. 8 from outside the box. And how many of them go in? If Hamer's hitting it, 1 in 4 or 5. Anybody else not going in. And
yeah.
That's it. End of story for us, isn't it? Think of who else
hitting it. He's still in orbit, isn't it? But
Burrow's 1 in 7 or 8, maybe. You think, Burrow's can hit a ball well enough to score a goal from outside. Him and Hamer. Other than that, nobody. And it's like you just go in. Where is it going to come from? Because this pretty interplay, playing through players. If teams are well organised against United at the minute, we're not creating a chance. It's 0 chances. So like Wilder said it at the end of last year, and he was almost bigging himself up because we were seeing off Bristol easy peasy and saying, if we can't go through him, we'll go over him, we'll go round him. And he said, and it sounded really clever, wasn't it, when he said it? He's going to have to figure out with what we've got how we go over, under, or round, or through, or whatever it is he said.
Absolutely right.
He's got to figure out how to make it happen. And that's why he gets paid a lot of money. That's why he's a professional. And he's going to have to show everybody that he can turn the ship around, because we've been relegated from this division with a very high wage bill in the past.
I agree. I think it's way too early to judge Wilder. But he will be judged on what he can do with this squad over the season. Certainly will be, and he should be. That's absolutely right. Yeah.
But it might take five decent chances or 5 half chances or a couple of good to score a goal. So we've the number of shots on target we've had this season. We've had games where we've had more chances in one game. Switch against us had 11 shots on target. We had 1. We had 2 in that game. We haven't had 11 all season. We've got to start getting at teams and attacking them. Attacking in numbers. Not just playing it safe and sitting men behind the ball and dilly-dally edge of the box. We need some battering rams who are going to get into the bloody box and attack the ball. Football, we've said it 100 times, it's so simple sometimes. But you've got to just if the threaded balls, if they're well organised, you can't break through them. You've got to go wide. You've got to just sling it in. You've got to commit 4 players to attacking the ball. You've got to give yourself that opportunity to score a goal. And we're just not doing that. And your luck doesn't change until you start doing stuff like that, because we're not going to score the perfect goal. We're not going to score 5-10 touches, little layoff to Gus, shapes one in the corner. Yeah, he can do it. But against good organised teams, it's very, very hard to do.
Agreed. Rick says, stick with it, lads. Wilder will turn it around. You bounce back stronger than before. I hope you're right, pal. Up the ramble, up the blades, marching on together. Paul says, I don't think the basics was better, though. With 6 passes back to Cooper, bang it over the top to the right wing. Then they stopped 6 passes and just hit it over the top. It did become desperate in the end, to be fair. John says Ingsy's not going to thrive as a lone striker, even if he gets fit. So we're looking at a formation change if we want to get the most out of him. And honestly, you could say the same for Campbell and Cannon. Yes, you could. I think that's a really good point, John. Colin says, hi, Jimmy. I think we would definitely benefit from a striker coach. Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's fair. Let's have a look. Pablo says, after yesterday, I wouldn't be surprised if the Oxford results are a repeat of when we played them in April. Confidence of a resurgence is very low at the moment, and I'm dreading the Southampton game. Yeah, Southampton's next home game. I've got to do a vlog for that. It's, yeah. Wait and see how that goes. I'm saying it now, Ings will not play any more than 10 games for us this season, says Matt. He'll be in the injured room all season. Hope I'm wrong. Matthew says, no striker could really get going under this system Wilder now prefers. We created nothing. Yesterday was last season without the luck. He has to change formation, otherwise genuine relegation battle. I have to say, Matthew, I don't agree when people say last season we're lucky. I don't think you can look your way to 92 points. I know we didn't blow teams away last year, and a lot of games were a one-goal advantage, a one-goal difference. But I still think there's character and there's belief to see out those games as well. I don't think we were great in the back end of a lot of games last season, and I think the table reflects that in terms of the stats that we've talked about previously on the Ramble. But I don't think you can say that we were lucky all season. One or two games, possibly. Maybe 9 of those points in terms of 3 games across the season we were lucky to beat teams, but or even 4 or 5. 92 points. You don't look your way to 92 points, lads. Am I wrong? Am I right?
You don't look your way to 92 points, but at times, from an attacking perspective, we weren't. You're right. We weren't blowing teams away, and it was the same issue. We were slow, so that's not changed.
Lee says, on Paul's point about how poor we use our possession, I was taught that possession without purpose is a waste of possession. To that extent, we wasted a lot yesterday. Numerous pointless safe passes. I agree with that, to be fair. Rich says, over 400 watching. Smash a like for the lads. Thank you, mate. Yeah, 450 something, I think, in the room at the minute. Thank you. That would be appreciated. Evening, lads. I think you lads are brilliant, but 3 more losses and your season could be over. Could be worse. You could support Leeds. Oh, sorry, we won again. Wait and see. Mr. Right. V gifting memberships again. Thank you, Mr. Vancouver. Absolutely incredible from you, as usual. Trusting CW, says Ben, in the process, but we're a wounded animal right now. The tempo of our attacking play must improve. However, we're only going to create a handful of chances per game. If we're only going to create a handful of chances per game, up the blades, up the ramble.
And we kill for a handful of chances at the minute.
But he's right. It's the tempo. If you up the tempo, and get up the pitch quicker, then we will have more chances. Yeah. Dan says, I know our attack isn't up to it, but Campbell and Hamer off it. Ogbenny not match sharp. Barry and Cannon League 1 level. Midfield not offering output. I'd change the formation to reset them. Up the 3 Mardy blades. Jake says, evening chaps. Charlton fan here. You boys will be fine. Nathan Jones is renowned to be tough to break down. We just had the momentum at the end. Good luck on the rest of the season. Wilder will turn it around. Thank you, Jake. Appreciate that. Certainly don't take anything away from your boys yesterday. Thought you were well organised. I think it was slightly presumptuous of us to say Charlton at home, we should be winning it, because I think the league is a lot better this year. You've come up with 2 really powerful sides in terms of spending power in Birmingham and Wrexham, who don't look to be in any danger of relegation this year. Wrexham may get pulled in at some stage. But because of that, and you've obviously levelled up as well and sort of gone under the radar a little bit as a side of Charlton, spent money as well, I think the league has improved significantly in terms of the bottom sides, or those that are expected to be around the bottom, aren't going to be anywhere near as poor as they have been in previous years. I also don't think there's a Leeds or a Burnley in the league this year either. So it's a lot tighter as a league, and we need to up our game personally if we're going to get anything from any games. Everybody knows there's no easy game in Championship. It becomes a cliche, but it's absolutely bang on. It's a brilliant league. I absolutely love it. I want to get out of it the right way out, but it's a brilliant league. James says, I wouldn't be surprised to see us go 3-5-2 very soon. Godfrey's not a right back. Burrows is well off it. Cooper needs better protection, and we need more attacking options. Corinthos Blade Roy says, I'd go 4-4-2 and take Callum O'Hare out. Like Paul's been saying, not necessarily 4-4-2, but he'd take Callum O'Hare out for another striker. Mark Meldrew says, on what planet do we see anything to suggest results will come? I don't get it, mate. It's blind optimism. Mark, you were very positive, up the very positive Meldrew before the game. How is that blind optimism? Lads, help me out here with Mark Meldrew.
You've got to have optimism in life. You have to, otherwise you become Victor Meldrew and everything's rubbish. So be right, Mark.
He will be right, well, Mark, and people know him on the channel now. He comes on the call-ins. He's often on Hot Topic, which is a Patreon only show that we do. But all it'll take is a press conference from Chris Wilder, and Mark Meldrew will be back on board. Don't you worry about that.
We were before Wilder came back. Everyone felt on the floor, and its reaction were just over 24 hours after, losing again. We're going to be on the floor, but we'll be fine.
We'll be fine. Nige says, I agree with Mr. Mountain. There's no magic wand, but why are most fans acting like there is? I knew for a fact we wouldn't win, as we're in big, big trouble. It sank to the players. Now you can see it. Dan says we wasted our loans on Bindon, League One, Barry, League One, Godfrey not match sharp, not played all last season, Ogbenny not match sharp, been injured, Samari only seen him in Birmingham and looked okay. Wilder ball last season saw our wide men constantly dropping and passing, stopping and dropping, passing backwards, says Roy. They're obviously coached that way. We don't cross the ball. Rich says if Wilder didn't get sacked, we get O'Brien, Doyle, Holden, McBurney, and more stays, etc. Instead of this mixed bag of average players, hence our struggles. Oxford game is a must not lose already. It would be a very different squad if Wilder hadn't been sacked. I agree with that. Joe says the recruitment department have to share the blame.
Some of it, yeah.
I think it's very easy for us to rewrite this because, and I won't go on for much longer because we are over time, but we were happy with the end of the window, a lot of us. And I don't think we can rewrite that now if they're not all paying off immediately.
No, but we were really late in getting sorted.
Yes, we were.
A lot of positions, and you can make the point that if we hadn't have got it wrong and clearly have to change strategy and rush at the end of the window and done a better job of it over the summer, we probably would have started the season better. So there has to be a portion of blame. It might not say the recruitment department because they might be given the guidelines and they've got to follow, but we can certainly blame some of it on the recruitment strategy because we've gone back on it. I
agree. And I just want us to be clear that I think we were very happy with the end of the window because of the situation we were in. And it was a very avoidable situation to be in. So I think what you're saying, Dave, is right. I agree with that element of it. If we'd have been more organised and knew what we wanted at the beginning of the window, we could have had a much better window. I think we are only very happy with the end of the window because it looked like we weren't going to get anybody in to the level that we needed. And I think that was the how happy the fan base were with the end of the window because we got an influx of championship level players in and we needed to pad the squad out. And I think that's where it came from. I don't want it to appear as though we said it were a great enter window, which it was in context. In context it was, but it's not. It doesn't mean we've had a fantastic window overall, if that makes sense. Paul, you've been shaking your head. Any thoughts?
Yeah, you can't judge. You can't judge players who came in 2 weeks ago. You can't because they come into a struggling side. They've just got rid of a manager. They've had a manager for a week. You can't judge it. Like we said it before, Ender Stevens, when he joined, was a liability. Jack O'Connell was a liability for when he joined the club. They ended up being club legends. You've got to give people an opportunity to prove themselves. And again, it does look to me like a squad that is not match sharp. I have to say that. I have to say that they do not look. They don't look ready. They look undercooked, and again, it might be a few weeks before we see a squad that's cohesive and at its best. But we've got Wilder back at the wheel. We're all happy with that. I think there are proven players in the squad at this level. There's players proven at a higher level than the Championship we've got in the squad, and we're just going to have to sit tight and not get our heads down too much until we see some sort of change in the. I'm not going to say the fortunes. I'm going to say a change in the the performance of a side that I still think has plenty of potential at this level.
Okay. Matt says, know what you mean, Jimmy, but yesterday was very much like Portsmouth and Plymouth at home, and we were lucky to win those specific games. Yes, we were, and that's fair. That's a fair point as well. Flyover Fred says, you don't get 92 points by luck. Ridiculous to suggest so. Bry, one of our mods, goes in strong here. For God's sake, this is not a relegation battle. We haven't even had bonfire night. If we don't believe, how can the players? This will, of course, turn around. Come on. I think this is a dangerous mindset, Bry. I honestly do. And I don't think we will be in a relegation battle. But I think if you don't respect the teams around you, then there's a bit of an entitlement to that. I think the players are good enough. But we've seen before in years gone by, who would have had Luton to go down last season? I know a lot of people that had Luton to get promoted back again to the Premier League when they did the predictions. Luton Town will have been saying exactly the same thing last year, that we're too good to go down. We won't be in a relegation battle all season. It's not. I don't think Sheffield United will be, but you have to respect the division. We look at Charlton as one of the easier games on paper to come to Bramall Lane. And they weren't an easy game because there are no easy games. They did exactly what they needed to do. They sat tight. They wasted a bit of time. They were clever with it. Not, exactly as you'd expect a team fancied to get beat to do against a team that's out of form. They were defensively solid. They were really well organised. They had a structure to what they were doing. 2 banks, and we could not break them down. And then they probably got a touch fortunate with a goal to beat us. But we certainly didn't deserve to beat them on the day. So I think if you look past it, you also can't underestimate the slide that can take place when confidence hits the floor. So if we can't pick these players up, and I think Chris Wilder is the perfect man to do it, which is why I got carried away and thought we would immediately bounce. But I still think Wilder's the man to pick them up because he's proven it time and time again at this club. But I think there's a very real possibility that it could continue for a little while longer, and we're not just expected to. Well, we've got better players on paper than them because the game isn't played on paper, and that's the danger that you've got with a bit of an entitled mindset. And I have to say that, Brian. I know you're not an entitled fan per se, but we have no divine right to be in the top 6 or at the top of the table. We've got the players that are capable of getting us there. But we're not playing anywhere near as well as we could do, and we don't look anything like a top-end championship side at minute. So we're where we deserve to be, and if it carries on, if we keep playing like this, then we'll stay there. So something has to change. Ben says, great to see young Jack Waldron train with the first team this week. Most talented player I've seen in school football in 14 years. Also, lovely meeting Dave this week. Top bloke. Up the blades, up the ramble. Like and subscribe. There you go. Dave the nose.
Forget about
meeting his fans. Rich says, you want a Wilder back, so Wilder do it his way. He'll turn you around. The extras coaching staff might be a distraction. Just a thought. Yeah, possibly, Rich, possibly. Jim says, I don't have a problem with this squad. You're a couple of winger signings away from being a top 3 side on paper. Can't sign anybody till January. And it's not played on paper, Jim. I agree with you. The squad is very good in terms of the talent available. We're not showing it. And we need to. And that's a concern for us. Alex says, I didn't mind Charlton's Tyrese Campbell. We'll bring him in for competition. I thought he played very well. I thought he looked a danger all the time. I think we struggled to cope with him. And he put us on the back foot. Mark Meldrew says, we lost 6 games on the spin. How can you say we're not in a relegation battle? It's easy to say, we have the players. They ain't performing. Then what? I agree with you, Mark. I agree with you. We're on the same page with that, pal. Rich says, couldn't understand why you were so pleased with Wilder back. Because I don't think there's anybody better. Is there anybody that you would rather have gone with, lads, than Chris Wilder coming back? I don't know whether it's a controversial thing to say after one game. That I think majority of us are happy. Am I right? Nobody's happy with where we're playing, but in terms of a manager appointment,
yeah, he'd be near the top of my list. I think that there were other good options available, and I've told you they are. But I think Wilder is still a good option. I'm not worried about him coming back for a third spell. I'm not worried about that, but I am worried about the performances, and I'd like a few of these players and a few of these staff to start earning the money and improving what we get to look at, because it is definitely a worry, Jim. We're not naive enough to say it's impossible, but it would be nice to get some results, wouldn't it? I know that's obvious, but just to steady the ship a little bit, and just to get some of the fans and the players belief is way more important than the fans' belief, because if the players believe they can do well, I think they will do well, and they know they can under Wilder. So again, there's no magic wands. It was the first game. It was disappointing, but we've got to move on. I don't think overanalyzing it at this point. I think if we get to 12 and 15 matches and we're still sat rock bottom of the table, we can start talking about the fire sale next summer. But until then, we've got to give him a chance to get his team sorted out, because it's a shadow of what it was last year.
I agree. Alex says Charlton are a side guaranteed for relegation, and if we can't beat them, that shows how bad we are. I completely disagree. That they. Who's to say Charlton are guaranteed relegation just because they came up last season? Charlton at the minute are 11th in the league with 2 wins, 2 draws, and 2 losses. So if they carry on that form, they're going to finish mid-table like they are now. There's no. The league is wide open for teams that will go down this year. I think Sheffield Wednesday occupy one spot because I think they'll get a points deduction and it'll zap them, and I don't think they have the squad depth to compete. That's not because they're our rivals, that's because of the mess that the club's in. And I think they are the only team guaranteed to be banging trouble of a relegation battle. I think it's any other teams like Preston that people thought were going to be involved have started really, really well. Charlton have signed some players to make them, give them a puncher's chance of competing this year, not just surviving but competing as well. I didn't think they looked like mugs yesterday. I thought they did a job on us. So I don't think it's a case of, oh, well, we're banging trouble if we can't beat lowly Charlton, because I think every team in this league is going to need a performance to beat them. Big Tony says, I've been told by someone in the know, a bit of ITK from Big Tony, players had a text today saying don't plan anything on Tuesday night. They're all going out. Right, okay. Bit of a...
second bowling, shouldn't they?
Billy, go get the beers in, pal.
Yeah.
Brand says, Jim's got a point. I'm sure Luton fans had that mentality last season too, Brighton. Look where that got them. That Luton side went down from the Premier League swinging too, unlike us. Brighton says, I believe in the club and I'll start to worry after Christmas. And Brand says, so do I, but I'm not blind to performances. We are barely having a shot on target. I think that's fair. Lads, we've gone over an hour and a half, and I apologise for keeping you this long. But any final points you want to make before I let you go?
I'm proud of myself for not falling asleep, and not because of you two, but I really didn't have a good night last night.
Mate,
I've
you need
certainly
a
not,
hot water bottle,
I've certainly not felt myself tonight.
hot chocolate, and just go to bed, mate. Honestly,
Yeah, you've probably had full on grump, full on Mardy blade from me tonight.
Yeah, but live on the internet as well.
I know. Honestly, that will go down as one of the funniest things.
It wasn't as funny as the drunken 90 after 90 call. That is one of my favourite. That is one of my favourite calls. In fact, one of my favourite moments on the Ramble from Liverpool House.
I think it's up there. I really do. I think it's up there just for the.
Can you not see, Doug? I'm live on the internet.
I'm live on the internet. I'll be with you in a minute. It's absolute gold, mate. You are absolute gold without even tending to be sometimes.
I know. Figure of fun.
No, you're not a figure of fun. You're just funny. Two very different things. But yeah, I had a great time celebrating my nephew's stag, so I wouldn't have missed that for the world. It was really weird not being at the lane. And even though we're not in a great spot, I can't wait for the Southampton game. I'm going out again on Friday, so that you're going to have a repeat of this next weekend. Which I'm a lunatic for it, and I'm even now still half tempted to try and get a ticket for Oxford.
Well, we've got the Shakes gig soon, lads, haven't we?
Yeah, well, I
Yes,
can't
we have.
say- Right, so the day after is said nephew's wedding, so I've got to be on best behaviour at that Shakes gig, or else I will be in bother. I'll be in worse bother than you were last night, Paul.
No, mate, we're all right, mate. 13 years of marriage and whatever else before. We know the drill.
If you're not having a pop at each other every now and then, you're not doing it right.
No, I know.
Too right. Mine just happens off stream. That's the only difference. So right, thank you boys for joining me. Very much appreciated. Thanks to everybody that's commented tonight. I don't fear for us long term this season. I don't think we'll be in a relegation battle. We need to know when it's going to turn around. We need to have a little bit of something to hold on to. I think it's been a reality check. It smacked us in the face how Wilder didn't just come in and sprinkle his magic dust on it like I was saying yesterday and turned it around. You know, there's a big job on. It's maybe the rot's set it a little bit deeper than we originally thought, and it's going to be a bit more of a slog this season than we were hoping for. But we'll be with them, won't we? And we'll back them, and that's what we've had a lot of success over the last 10, 15 years, really, and certainly 10 years. And I think my dad was making this point the other day, actually. Only really the Premier League seasons, and one of them were very successful, but only really the Premier League seasons have we had to write off as poor seasons. So we've been spoiled, and sometimes that can make you a little bit, oh, well, we're Sheffield United, we should be doing this, or we should be doing that. Well, no, actually, sometimes you have to go through some harder times to appreciate those better times as well, and we're not entitled to anything. So maybe it's our turn to have a little bit of a rough season and hopefully pull something out of it at the end, but time will tell. But for now, come on, you red and white wizards.
Can you not see? I'm live on the internet.
Stop the blades!